Hello everybody, welcome back. I am Hupsaya. I'm coming at you with another build order tutorial. This time, the Protoss vs Zerg build. It's a 3 Immortal +1 timing attack. Let's jump straight into this. I like to make these videos pretty quick. Alright, so to start off, while we go over the original opening of the build, we just do a normal gateway expand opener. This build takes a high level approach to the game, and we're going to do a thing called signaling to our opponent. We're going to take a fast third base, and then we're going to hit a timing attack with 2 base saturation. So signaling in StarCraft is very important because everybody works with limited information because of the fog of war, and nobody can have perfect information about what you're doing. So it's important to make your opponent think things that will give you an advantage and give you favor. So to start off, we see that our opponent has gone for a hatchery first, so we get to go for our Nexus before our Cybernetics core. Everything looks pretty good. So second gas comes up, second pylon comes up. We poke at his minerals. You don't need to do stuff like this. It's much more important that you keep tabs on when the Zerg player goes to take a third base rather than try to poke his mineral line. So we start the game off with an Adept and a Robo. We Chrono Boost our Adept. We start our Warp Gate. I'm gonna slow the game down now because the opener is over. So I see that he's going to take a third base. Everything looks pretty good for us. It would be good for me to actually confirm the presence of the third base with the probe so that my Adept doesn't have to do it. So we start our Stalker. We Chrono Boost the Stalker because it's really important that our Stalker comes out as quickly as possible to deny Overlord scouting. I'm paying attention to my Adept here a little too much. It really needed to just go straight across the map. The Stalker can deal with these. Important to start in a sentry after our Stalker because we want lots of energy on that sentry when we eventually push. We build an Immortal, or we build a Warp Prism first, because what happens a lot is that the Zerg players will abuse these dead airspace areas to keep their Overlords alive. And we want this Warp Prism so that we can use the Stalker to chase down the Overlord that's close to our base. So we make our third pylon when we make the Warp Prism to avoid getting supply blocked. We make the Forge at 3 minutes and 30 seconds so that we can get that real fast +1 attack. That was a really big mistake, losing the Adept. If you lose the Adept, you should probably just make a second Adept out of the gateway before Warp Gate finishes. So I'm going to clear up this close Overlord. I'm going to make my third gas, and we're going to complete our wall off before the Zerglings get over to our base. Right now, I'm floating quite a bit of money, but what you really want is like a smooth transition where your Warp Prism finishes, you make an Observer, and then you make an Immortal. So not having a very smooth transition on my my Robotics Facility production is pretty shitty of me. So we start +1 attack. We start our extra gateways. In the game that I'm referencing, parting only goes to 5 gateways. I always go to 6 gateways because it feels like a better number of gateways. It lets me spend my money a little bit easier. But parting, he's a god. His Warp Gate production cycling is really intense. So you also notice I've got about 600 minerals right now, and I'm not going to take my third base yet. But right now, you should have your third base started. But I lost my first Adept, so I was a little bit scared to move out and go take the third base. But it's okay. It's okay for it to be a little bit later if your macro is not perfect. So the Observer and the Warp Prism with the first Immortal. This is part of the signaling. Is this third base very early, and the 1 Immortal drop. Right, we're signaling to our opponent that hey, everything's fine. I'm not coming to kill you, I promise. So this Immortal, he wants to kill these close creep tumors, because these creep tumors, they make it really hard for you to get into this choke point. This is the choke point where we want to kill our opponent at. So we kill these close creep tumors. We kill these ones over here first, because we want our opponent to drop the extra energy on his queens over here instead of over here to replace these ones. These are the ones that are high priority, but we kill these ones first because we want him to use the energy over here instead, right? See, he's got no energy on the queens anymore because he replaced those ones over there. So we pop all of his creep tumors over here, and this creep proceeds. Very cool, right? So we've got our third immortal on the way. We've got 6 sentries. I've got one too many. My macro with this build, not super perfect, but it's okay. So I'm gonna send you. I'm gonna give you the idea of the signaling one more time. We signal to our opponent that we're playing a standard game by taking a very early third base. We signal to our opponent that we're not trying to kill them by just doing the immortal drop, trimming and clearing creep. And then our third part of our signaling is that we would send a zealot or the adept, if it were alive, to clear the close zerglings before we move out with the army. The adept, you just shift Q it around and it kills these close zerglings, and your opponent doesn't see your army moving out. See, watch my opponent's vision, right? He sees me kill this zergling, and he doesn't even look at it. He just sees on the mini map that there's a bunch of units, and he starts up a bunch of units. This is bad for us, right? He's already got 61 workers because he saw that we had a really fast third base. So the signaling worked, and the signaling wins us this game. But the third step of the signaling of clearing his close map vision is an even stronger way to make it so that the Zerg will probably play even more greedy and delay units even longer. So we see that I'm like a little bit late right now. Oh, oops. We see that I'm a little bit late right now. I have it written down that at 6 minutes our +1 attack finishes. So I'm going to come back to 6 minutes and we're going to see if my +1 attack finished. So my +1 attack is finishing almost right around 6 minutes, which is really, really good. So that's good, but we're not moving out with our army early enough, right? So we move out before this third immortal finishes, and this immortal rallies across the map to us. So right now, my +1 attack is finishing. I'm losing time on my attack window. But like I said, it's really good that we cleared these creep tumors first, because we forced him to use the queen energy over here, not over here. So there's not a bunch of creep over here. So when he comes to try and fight me over here, he doesn't have creep to do it with. So our force fields are really super effective. Use warp prism juggling to save a couple of my sentries. Get that extra warp in going on. And we kill this man. The rest of this build is really simple. I made a few too many extra workers. You're really supposed to cut it like 41 workers and really just like all in their face off. This is a very all-in build. There's not a lot of transition power out of this. I'm going to just show you the rest of the fighting. Juggle our warp prism. We save our immortals. And our opponent just kind of overcommits to the defense because he thinks that he can defend us. But he's got 60 workers. He's got 20 more workers than I do. Oops, double force fielded. Oops. So, if you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments below. If you want to follow me on YouTube, please subscribe. I will have more videos for you soon. I want to shout out my Twitch, twitch.tv/hupseya. Guys, I hope that this helped you. The concept of signaling in PvZ is very powerful, and if you can master this skill and this tactic, you're going to have a lot more success with your mid-game pushes versus Zerg, because a lot of people are very much too brute force with their attacking in PvZ, and it's too obvious to the Zerg player that you're coming to kill them. So they cut drones at like 40 to 50 workers, and they just hammer out a bunch of roaches. And when you get to their base, it's like they got 20 more army supply than you, and you're like not sure how to kill them. Well, think about the concept of signaling. Think about the concept of removing your opponent's map vision so that you can clear the way for you to attack them and have them be more blind. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.